We are truly set free only by the grace of God. We are set free not by anything that we do, not by anything that we think or believe, not by anything we say, not by any behavior, but by deeper compulsion to expand, to develop, to have a greater awareness, to develop this deeper self-awareness, this deeper understanding of who we are and what the truth of this reality is, what its nature is, how we operate within it, and what our place is within this cosmic tapestry of life. The majority of people are simply slaves to their conditioning without even knowing this, without even knowing that we are being run by conditioned patterns. And many of these patterns extraordinarily limiting and dysfunctional. And operating from this place without even knowing it. Being so deeply entrenched in these patterns and identified with them that we don't even recognize it. You know, how often do we operate through subjective blind spots, through subjective biases, while believing that we are right, while believing that we have some sort of absolute sense of the truth of reality, when in fact we don't. None of us do. I don't, you don't, nobody does. Why? Because we are limited to our subjective lens. No one sees reality perfectly. No one sees reality completely objectively, because by default, intrinsically, inherently, we exist within a subjective paradigm. We exist witnessing reality through our eyes, you know, our senses, our hearing, our feelings, our emotions, taste, smell, etc., thoughts, all of this is all subjective. Everything you experience. So to project that onto someone else is completely delusional. It's so short-sighted. And this is like the number one blind spot of humans, is to believe that we know the truth. We know how things should be. We know what is right and what's wrong. And look at the past, and look at the wars and the conflicts and the violence and the destruction that has taken place by people who believe that they are doing the right thing. And they're not. And I'm not saying that there isn't truth to what is morally or ethically good. It's very clear. Inflicting suffering on others it's very clear that that is not okay. That is wrong. I completely believe that. I'm not saying, oh, there's no right or wrong. Like, to me, that's bullshit. There clearly is. But what I'm saying is, oftentimes people don't even see that what they are doing is inflicting suffering, or is creating pain, or is short-sighted, or they're operating from a blind spot. Right? I've done this plenty of times in my life. It's always easier to see when other people do it than when you're doing it. Right? And to even argue with someone who's coming from this space is for you yourself to be stuck in this blind spot. It's for you yourself to be a slave to your conditioning and your limitations and your identification with what you believe is right or true or superior. So, to me, what is true, what is real, what is absolute, is nothing that can be expressed. Our language is not sufficient to convey the absolute. It's not, because it's relative. Our experiences are relative. They come and they go. Thoughts, everything. It's not sufficient to convey the truth. That's why we run into so many problems with communication when we're relying solely on language, when we're not seeing the deeper reality of who we are. That we are all so deeply interwoven into this fabric of reality that is truly inseparable. You can't cut yourself out from the fabric of reality. You know, on the deepest level, nothing is truly separate. We only see things as separate so we can effectively navigate reality. But when we shift our perspective, say you take a psychedelic or something, all of a sudden everything starts merging and blending together, and you begin to see, oh, like, there actually is no separation. There's no absolute subjectivity. Where do you end? Where do you begin? Do you begin with just the atoms or the subatomic particles that make up your body? Do you end with your skin? Where do you draw the line? Where does anything end or begin? We can't say, you know? It's impossible to say. Whenever we break something down, it can only be defined by itself. A word can only be defined by itself. You know, you look it up in the dictionary. Space, measurement, right? Like, what is, for example, a mile is like 5,800 something feet. A foot is 12 inches. An inch is, you know, however many centimeters. A centimeter, like blah, 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 blah. You can only break it down based on itself, but what is it really? It's impossible to say. You can't say what it is. You can't say where it starts or where it begins. So we can lose ourselves in definition and in this sort of intellectual analysis, trying to figure out some sort of absolute meaning to things. What is the objective truth? What is real? What's not real? Yet it can never be known definitively from a standpoint of limitation. And language and thought, all these things inherently are limited. And so to really know something, the closest we can get to knowing something is through the direct experience of it, without any analysis or thought, stepping away from these subjective biases and fully experiencing it. You know, we might have a thought or an opinion about someone, but to fully be present with someone and to experience the truth of who they are is completely separate from our opinion of them. It's completely separate from that blurred lens that we're looking through. It's something else entirely. So to step away from this subjective bias, from the altered lens through which we see reality, is to actually clear that lens and to see the truth. And at that point, we no longer need to get our opinion across or engage in petty arguments. Yes, we can express our beliefs. We can express what's important for us, our values, but there's not this need to defend. There's not this conflict-oriented nature to it. So if someone disagrees with us, all of a sudden, we get up in arms. Because it doesn't fucking matter at all. It doesn't matter. Why? Because none of it is ultimately true or real. It's just a subjective bias. It's a program that we're running, whether we're aware of it or not. So to develop this awareness of our conditioning, to the degree that we can have awareness of this conditioning is the degree to which we can step out of it and transcend it and go beyond it. And that is by the grace of God. That gift, that divine spark of enlightenment, of awareness, enables us to become aware of how we are conditioned and how this conditioning is limiting us. And then we can step out of these limitations. Because yes, we may have been conditioned by other people in the environment, but again, we can't separate ourselves from it, right? So we have to take responsibility for all of it. And when we take that personal responsibility, then we're no longer a victim to anything. Because as long as you identify as a victim, you are claiming your own powerlessness. You're saying, oh, I'm just a victim to life, I'm just a victim to other people and my conditioning, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, I am powerless. It's a disempowering standpoint to come from, to believe that you're a victim. Right? And yes, we do get victimized, we get abused, we get hurt. Absolutely. Absolutely. But at the same time, argue for your limitations and you get to keep them. It's that simple. Right? So, in life, always, the essential fact of life is you always reap what you sow. It's the nature of cause and effect. You get what you give. Whatever you focus your attention on, whatever you pour your energy into, you get the results of that, right? We can clearly see this if we go to the gym, right? And we work out and we lift weights, for example. And as we pour our energy and focus and attention into that, and we do it in a way that is effective, that is quality, to the best of our ability, we see the results. Oh, my physique's changing, I'm getting stronger. We see the shift taking place. But this happens on every level of reality. It happens also on the subtle level. When we do this inner work, we shift our thoughts, our beliefs. We relinquish our traumas. We let go of this negative limiting conditioning. Then all of a sudden things start to change. And we do this all by deliberately utilizing our focus. We have to be deliberate with our focus, and this is that divine grace. It's that gift of awareness so that we can use our choice and free will to make the decisions that define our destiny and that take us to the place that we want to get to. It enables us to create the life experience that we really want. And that is the gift of God. That is the gift of the Most High. Right? Why some people are granted this awareness and this greater desire for enlightenment, for self-development, for improvement, I don't know. You know, some people say, oh, some souls are more evolved, they're this or that or da-da-da. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, some people will resonate with this message and some people won't. Why? I don't know. You know? A lot of people, again, as I said, it's the conditioning that keeps them limited and they're seeing everything through the eyes of their conditioning. It's not actually them. You know? Like, I heard this quote, I think it's from Lao Tzu that, or no, it was William Blake in his poem. He says, we see with the eyes, but not through them, right? So the way I see that is we see with our conditioning, we see with this limitation that has been conditioned into us, that has been given to us, but we don't see through it. We don't see beyond it. So the gift of God, the grace of God, the gift of awareness and enlightenment is to see beyond it and to see the ultimate truth of life. And that is what I wish for you. That is what I wish for myself. That is what I wish to convey in this message. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, as always, live this life from a peak experience. This has been Bodhi with Bodhi Tree Social. Talk again soon. Much love.